The Buu Arc, or the Majin Buu Saga, is considered to some to be the lowest point of Dragon Ball Z. If you were to ask some Dragon Ball Z fans what do they consider the least favorited saga within the series, most would even say without hesitation the Majin Buu Saga, for reasons that can obviously vary from person to person but definitely have certain similarities to them. As I'm pretty sure you've heard this from other content creators and other people on social media that it should have ended at the Cell Saga. And I've heard claims such as the writers didn't understand Gohan and even ruined him as a character. Or things such as this has way too many transformations, Buu isn't really that good of an antagonist, or that nothing really in this story makes any sense. So for today's video, I would like to take a deep dive into some of these criticisms and express why I like the Buu Saga and why Buu is honestly my favorite antagonist within the franchise. And honestly why I believe that people may have misunderstood this saga. As most know the disclaimers by now, yes, this is my opinion, but please don't be afraid to share your own opinion. Hopefully as you hear some of my opinions and watch the video all the way through, you can comment below and tell me why you agree or whether you disagree. So without wasting any time, let's dive on in to the story in the saga of Majin Buu. The story begins with a narration following after the events of the Cell Saga, stating after the attack of yet another enemy, Earth was saved by the father and son hero team of Goku and Gohan. But of course, people will be people, and no sooner do they get used to peace than they begin to misbehave. Years after the battle with Cell, we find ourselves in Hercupolis, renamed in honor of its favorite son, whom the people of Earth believe saved them, a belief that happens to be very wrong. This then leads over to the scene of bank robbers and Gohan on his way to high school, as this shows Gohan growing up more so over time and in a time of peace. This then leads Gohan encountering the bank robbers and having to transform into Super Saiyan to stop them. After saving the people, we are then encountered with the character of Videl, the beloved daughter of Mr. Hercule, or the world champion as the world knows in this time as Mr. Satan. This then shows glimpses and scenes of Gohan being in high school, trying to enjoy his youth and time as much as possible, but this then becomes a conflict of its own, because even though Gohan realizes that he really wants to become a world scholar, he has responsibilities and needs to protect the Earth as much as he can, as this is something his own father, Son Goku, bestowed upon him after his death against Cell, which even left Gohan at that time unsure and questioning whether he was ready to don the mantle. We then pan back over to the character of Videl, showing certain similarities to Gohan. After uncovering his identity of who he is as being the Great Sandman, we start to get characterization and unraveling of who Videl is as a character and what she is trying to establish herself to be, as society themselves saw her nothing more than just Hercule's daughter, which gives much more reason and motivation for Videl to prove something. From Videl's perspective, she would handle crimes and matters like this pretty much on her own. But as Gohan arrives for his first day in high school and other matters as the Golden Fighter or even the Great Sandman, this seems quite problematic for Videl as she has no idea who he really is. And especially when it's a total stranger who you don't even know showing up and handling the work that you want to do. So after figuring out Gohan's identity, she pretty much blackmails him into teaching her how to fly, as they were going into the Tenkaichi Budokai for the next world tournament, which then included all of the Z fighters reuniting to showcase their skills within this own tournament. As Videl is training with Gohan, she gives him some insight of her life, telling Gohan that she hasn't even told her father about the training lessons as he can get very protective. But mostly, he does not want her dating anybody weaker than him. Gohan even asks her, has her father even taught her any lessons himself, and she says no, most of this is all self-taught. Gohan begins to ask her would she even be upset or disappointed if her father were to lose. Videl responds with saying, "Are you kidding? I'd laugh, he's so arrogant." Even after her own mother died and how arrogant he has been throughout that time, she just wants to see him lose for once. So she wants to surprise him with the flying techniques to show him that she is capable of handling things on her own. Whether it be about fighting or anything else, she has proven that she can handle herself. Especially with her fight with Spopovich, even though she was close to near death, she did not once ask or want to give up. Even it seemed like she was almost coming close to victory on her own. She wanted to prove to people whether she win or lost, no matter even if she is the daughter of the world's strongest champion, that she learned her fighting techniques herself, but flying and other abilities by the likes of Gohan. Even though I went on to this characterization of both Gohan and Videl, most people want to know, well, why did I? This is quite a bit of foreshadowing, but it kinda sets the precedent of what the Majin Buu Saga truly is about, which really tackles the main message of self-reliance and being dependent on others. This is quite literally shown for people out there who pretty much misunderstand Gohan as a character. But before we get into that, I would like to express exactly why I really like this part within the story. What I truly and really like about this is it shows the relatability and relationship build-up for Gohan and Videl, as both of their fathers are martial artists and even have sometimes of an arrogance of their own. Even this dawns on a great amount of responsibility put upon both of these characters to protect the Earth from greater threats as well as humanity that may even cause them. I consider this to be very good because it really shows a balance of slice of life within all the characters. This could also be seen without certain guidance. It contrasts as being unbalanced and overly high on their own self-reliance and assurance in their own abilities. We've seen from our main characters from Goku and Vegeta who want to always go beyond and surpass their own limits. Which not to say that they don't care for their loved ones, but it does put them at a high risk of continuously chasing this goal of wanting to become the strongest warrior. And seeing a character like Son Gohan wanting to just do things to protect the Earth is quite a breath of fresh air. While Goku and Vegeta will always strive to get stronger, Gohan himself will try his best to don the mantle of being Earth's protector, as this feels very fitting to both characters. It even goes to show that these characters can accept their imperfections, which then leads over to our next topic of the mischaracterization of Son Gohan. You've probably heard this claim numerous times. This ruins Gohan. This isn't who Gohan really is. The writers didn't know what they were doing with writing him. The whole idea of Gohan's arrogance in this arc is not necessarily one out of left field, as people mainly talk about the way that he carried himself in the fight against Majin Buu. Why would Gohan make the same mistake all over again like he did with Cell? Because this goes to show that Gohan's character development really meant nothing, or the notion that Toriyama himself saw how angry fans were about Gohan being the main character, so he decided to just write him out within the story, which in and of itself is quite a misconception, because actually Akira Toriyama actually stated this within an interview, as he said he didn't really feel happy writing Gohan as the main character, as he just didn't really seem to fit the role. Now of course I can totally understand why some people would say that this still ruins him as a character, because a lot of people's expectations after how the Cell arc concluded felt very perfect for him to become the main character. After breaking past his limits and even succeeding his father, it felt very much refreshing and perfect for his time to don the main character role. But I would rebuttal that this doesn't really make much sense for him, because in the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, he even states that he wanted to become a scholar. Never at once stated that he wanted to become a fighter. Even though he had potential, it is something he never really wanted to use. This is very much shown in chapter 2 and 12 of Dragon Ball Z during the Sand Saga. The dialogue of this begins with Krillin asking a question, is he strong like you too? Goku's response is, I know he's got it in him, but Chi-Chi has a fit if I try to train him. Krillin responds with saying, she does? What a waste. Goku responds with saying, I'll say, she says the world's peaceful these days, so who needs martial arts? What the kid needs is study, she says. We then fast forward to the aftermath of the arrival and battle of Goku's brother, Raditz. For a very short moment within the battle, Gohan displayed an immense amount of potential and strength, and left a solid attack on Raditz, which leaves Goku pretty shocked. We then see Raditz get up and knock Gohan unconscious, which then leads to the sacrifice of his own father, Goku. After these events transpire and they know the knowledge that these Saiyans will be arriving very soon, Piccolo takes Gohan to train his potential. After Piccolo takes him and pretty much launches him into a mountain, he eventually figures out the way how Gohan activates his power, stating, your power bursts loose only when your emotions are at their peak, and then only for an instant, not very useful, but I will teach you how to use the power all the time. I will make you the greatest fighter ever. Gohan responds to this by saying, but I don't want to be a fighter. I want to be a great scholar. Some may say, well, despite all of this, why would he still become arrogant within the Buu Saga? The real pushback I would have against this is that we need to take the occurrence within the setting. What are the events, the people around Gohan influencing him and changing his overall direction as he goes along? As summarizing the quick results of what happened within each moment, he knows that his father is coming back home eventually for the Budokai tournament, but also he's being ridiculed and criticized by Vegeta. Vegeta believes that he has gone soft in these times of peace and that he needs to step it back up and constantly go back to being the fighter and warrior that he once was. And of course, this isn't the final time that it happens. He even criticizes him in his fight with Deborah. After Vegeta is overtaken by Majin Buu and him and Goku begin their battle, Gohan is in charge of stopping the resurrection of Majin Buu. As he tries his best, this ultimately becomes a failure. As he is beaten in towards near death of Majin Buu, Kibito is revived by the Dragon Balls. As he travels to the Supreme Kai's location, knowing that he's on his way to save Gohan, as he still had fighting potential to be unleashed, as he trains using the Z-Sword and even gets his potential unleashed by the Elder Kai. During his time of training, he also sensed Goku's chi of him becoming a Super Saiyan 3, and even while he was in a meditative state, he was also aware of Goten and Trunks, understanding and hearing that they were even rivaling Majin Buu. This was even the beginning of something Gohan himself was aware of before the Tenkaichi Budokai. As Gohan and Goten are going to meet Videl, within the manga it states, "You have a lot of talent too. I'd never have guessed you were that good. I bet you could enter the tournament too if you worked on it." Goten replies, "Really? But Trunks is even stronger than me. We play Showdown all the time." Gohan gets shocked by this by saying, "Showdown? That's what you've been calling playing?" Gohan then says to himself, "These kids will leave me in the dust if I don't watch it." Even though I know this is truly a long summary that I've been going on to for about a while, this was mainly to derive the point of where Gohan's arrogance was coming from. Because remember, Gohan himself is also half Saiyan. He's witnessed Vegeta, Trunks, his kid brother, and even his father continue edging past their own strengths. So once his powers are unleashed by the Kaioshin, it makes a lot of sense to why he starts to become quite arrogant. So remember again, Gohan is not only a human, but he is also a Saiyan, as it is hereditary within him by nature, and having a literal deity surpass his own fighting limits, it makes a lot of sense to why Gohan would believe and delve into arrogance. But also knowing as he returns back to Earth to battle Buu, Goten and Trunks are still alive, as well as Dende. So when I've seen and heard that a lot of people say that the Buu Arc ruined Gohan's character, I quite questioned it. Though of course I can totally understand why a lot of people may have been disappointed, as he did not really become the main character, or continue his own journey to become stronger than Goku or even a better warrior. As I said this previously, I consider this to be a good thing, as it truly balances out the cast and gives different distinctions to either character. As Goku and Vegeta's dream is much more broader into their own journey of becoming stronger, Gohan has another one. Gohan and Trunks would like to take on the mantle of protecting the others around them. But now to move on to the antagonist of the story that mirrors a lot of what these characters are all into one, Majin Buu. You've probably seen and heard from a lot of spaces or other places on social media that Buu isn't really the most well-liked antagonist. Because you may say, well, on the surface, there isn't much really to his character. To go more in depth about that misconception about complexity, I would recommend you check out my video, The Beauty of Simplicity, as I went in depth with other anime and stories and characters and show their motivations to why it can lead to certain complexities. Back to Majin Buu. Majin Buu is created as a being to be the pure incarnation of evil. Seeing the differences of other antagonists throughout the series in Dragon Ball, you could see that Buu has a much more playful nature from first appearances, as Buu has the power to absorb people and their own capabilities and strengths. He mistakenly absorbs one of the Kaioshin, as this then affects and influences Buu's personality. Though Buu is still dangerous and a threat, it actually influences him to be a lot more nicer. The character flaw written here with Majin Buu, as it reflects a lot of the characters within this part of the series. Though Buu is truly more than capable of wiping out the entire planet and even terrorizing the entire universe, his true overall problem is his guidance and understanding. Think about it, outside of Babidi, the main other characters to impact and influence Buu is none other than Mr. Satan and Goku. As Goku even says to him, "You're that powerful and you're letting him boss you around," which actually after their small fight that they had, Buu actually says that he had fun. However, Goku could not, as his time ran out, which in return, Goku promises him to wait as he will face a stronger warrior. This then leads Buu getting annoyed by Babidi's demands hands and eventually killing him, forthgoing Majin Buu's unruly and unguided rampage. But even during this, we actually see that Buu does have a bit of emotions, or even some bit of a personality, as he does certain things like curing the blind kid and even giving him some milk, and even Earth's champion known as Mr. Hercule, trying to do certain tactics and ways to try to kill Majin Buu, and obviously they all don't even work. Despite killing him, Hercule accomplishes something better, that is actually changing Buu's perspective. Once the robbers arrive and cause trouble for Majin Buu and Mr. Hercule, they kill the puppy and then eventually shoot Mr. Hercule, which causes Majin Buu to let go of the evil side of himself, creating it of its own entity. This then leads to the evil Buu absorbing Majin Buu and obviously the other Z fighters. While there is a lot of things going on with this character, I believe what Toriyama is trying to tell the audience is that nothing can truly be defined as evil, and evil has different faces and different ways to be interpreted. I remember a video created by the likes of Totally Not Mark, and it covered most of the BUU Saga. In his video, he stated that this could be seen as a negative thing, as this could be seen, for lack of a better term, villain hot potato, because this could be seen as a problem as Buu does not have one linear direction of his own character. But I would say that this is necessary for the conclusion, because this has truly shown why it really matters to Goku and even Mr. Hercule. For the character of Son Goku, as we've grown to know him over time. Think about it like this: throughout Goku's journey from this point in the BUU Saga, he has always had guides to lead him to become stronger. From characters like Master Roshi, Grandpa Gohan, Kami, Mr. Popo, Korn, and especially King Kai. They have channeled and directed him throughout his journey for his pursuit of true strength. So it's safe to say that if Goku didn't have any of these trainers that have truly impacted him and influenced him, he would pretty much become just like Majin Buu. As this is not only just for Goku, but even the entire Dragon Ball cast. Without Goku's mentors and Goku understanding the tutelage that he's learned from them, he wouldn't have forgiven most of his foes that have become now his friends, as Buu pretty much mirrors everything about them. As he absorbs the fighters, we also see that he starts to absorb their intellect and fighting prowess and understanding the capabilities of their techniques. Buu pretty much shows everything about the Z fighters that we've known throughout their entire journey. It's why Vegeta's sacrifice is truly prominent within this point of the series, as it shows certain similarities to Vegeta and his time when he was within the Frieza army. As Krillin was about to go back to help Vegeta, Piccolo tells him not to, that he is fighting for someone other than himself. He is doing this for the sake of his own loved ones, even of the respect of Goku. What I believe the theme of the BUU Saga truly tackles is the problem with self-reliance. Though self-reliance can be seen as a very positive and good thing for yourself, it could also be your truest and greatest downfall in not relying or depending on the others around you. But this then leans over to a problem that people have within the BUU Saga, which is too many transformations. The notion of this is that this ruins the story and how Super Saiyan is actually used. You have fusion with characters like Goku and Vegeta becoming Vegeto, even their sons like Goten and Trunks. I believe some people even now still quite misunderstand this, because the notion of this is that this is just lazy writing and it was only there for fan service to just give us more transformations, which I can totally empathize with. The amount of times that we see these characters gain new abilities or transformations, it does feel quite rushed. I can understand why to some people it devalues the ones that we've seen prior. Even though I can understand a lot of people's sentiments, I would still disagree with this, because the Super Saiyan isn't really meant to be about a character's most troubling times and moments. As I know a lot of people have put a lot of emotions and sentiments within this, because Super Saiyan itself can be seen as a foundation to be much more explorative in what the character makes of their own transformation. Goku, it was about his legendary battle with Frieza, and the triggering point was Krillin's death. For Vegeta, it was about wanting to continue to chase Goku, to one-up and show that he can become a better and stronger warrior than him. For Gohan, it was more so about protecting others. Future Trunks was the loss of everyone around him, as he had no choice but to don the mantle of becoming the only Z fighter left of his timeline. For the present timeline of Kid Trunks and Goten, it's more so about understanding the experience. Though they are shown to have a lot of prowess and talent and potential of their own abilities, it's more so kind of similar to Gohan's, about understanding the responsibility and mentality of it all. Because remember, at this time, they are still kids. So I would say it's much more reasonable and appropriate to see what they can make of the Super Saiyan transformation, as they would need more time to grow and understand what it truly means, and what they really simply want to become of their own characters. As I said, the saga within Dragon Ball tackles more so of the theme and message of self-reliance. And as I said, Buu mirrors a lot of these characters in a lot of ways is because he's quite just like a kid. This is also seen to be a problematic misconception that even Goku himself does not realize. Within this moment, Piccolo asks Goku why didn't he go all out to try to stop Majin Buu. Goku then responds to Piccolo by saying,
"You've gone all out. You could have defeated Majin Buu right then and there on your own. Am I wrong about that?"
Well, it's possible, but with Buu's strength and powers, it's hard to say one way or the other. I think me beating him wasn't in the cards.
Think? You always know what you're capable of.
I'm someone who's not even supposed to be in this world anymore. Buu's not my battle to win. We have to teach this next generation to beat Buu on their own. Because you know, once he's gone, there's always going to be some other destructive power determined to take over the world. Sure, fusion's a gamble. But after seeing how strong Goten and Trunks have become, I believe my faith in them is justified.
But you're putting the Earth's fate entirely in the hands of children.
Yeah, well, it won't be the first time, will it?
Your confidence never fails to impress me, Goku.
What this becomes a misconception and a gigantic flaw within Goku's own naivety is the same in what Babidi tried to do with Majin Buu. As they both truly strongly believe in their own successor's potential, they also misinterpreted their perspectives. As I stated this previously of another problem that people had within the BUU Saga about Gohan's character, it conflicts the point of view or perspective, as most would say, and the potential that the character holds. But more importantly, how this truly affects the character and antagonist of Majin Buu. Though he has a lot of funny gags and moments within the story, all due in part for him absorbing the Kaioshin, it's still reasonable to say he's quite just like a kid, with little to no true guidance of understanding how to use his powers more respectively. That's why near the ending of this saga, Vegeta even says to Goku that they need to make a Gekidama, because for one time, humanity needs to save itself. Which I believe the fight between both of these Buus are quite literally underappreciated thematically, as this is quite a callback to nature versus nurture, as it is pretty much more of a one-man show, truly shows and empathizes what we've been through throughout the entirety of Dragon Ball. The true points of nature versus nurture, accepting your past and even confronting the present and moving forward for the future. BUU Saga truly captures all of this within these characters. The good Buu here is pretty much representatory of Goku, as he was changed by his mentors and others around him. As for this Buu, he was changed in part by Goku and even the likes of Hercule and a dog, while the opposite Buus of Kid Buu and even Super Buu captures more so of the principles of the things Vegeta used to uphold, not actually training or needing guides or mentors to help him, only using the power that he was blessed with for his own wrongdoings and even self-beliefs. It's why Buu loses to the likes of the Gekidama. As for his last moments, Goku wishes for him to come back and be reincarnated to see what he would be as a good person. Now, that pretty much wraps it up for this video. As always, if you liked the video, please comment below and tell me why, and if you disagree with me, please comment below and tell me why. As always, thank you for watching my video all the way through. And if you're interested to any of this content or any of these videos, please think about subscribing to the channel. If you want to keep up with me more, please follow me on other social media links. With that being said, as always, I'll see you around.